All right, good morning, Advantage members. It's Monday, August 9th, 8:30 a.m. Price of BTC skyrocketing towards $45,800. I think we tagged 46.1K just ago, and it looks like the overnight movement that we had under here was really maybe just excess selling, maybe a retest of this area right here. And then we climbed back above the weekly open and then we just took off, right? Fantastic movement overnight. What we did yesterday was, whoops, I don't know what just happened, sorry. What we did yesterday was probably one of the better and quicker trades. Entered a quick BTC short hedge because the entire market was nuking yesterday. If y'all remember, BTC was dumping, gold was selling off aggressively, silver was selling off, but it just so happened to be that gold and silver were starting to get bought back up, but BTC was just starting its leg down right here. Now, what I was looking for yesterday was, if I was going to hold on to my short, is for BTC to come to this area from here and break it. Now, because we didn't do that, we actually came right around this area, and that's exactly where Hey, can y'all hear me? Can you guys hear me? Anyone? Yes. Yeah, I apologize for the connection issues there. I'm not quite sure what happened. Like I said, I'm actually in a new location, and I've had this dang cold, or I don't know if it's Corona or what. But point is, it's just been a very weird couple of days. Back to the analysis here. So as I was going over our trades, right, in the 5K count, we got out of our BTC short trade last night. And then what happened was, just so happened that I was up late last night and I saw the level that we were paying attention. Okay, see this area right here? We had broken that last night, and it just so happened to be that we had reclaimed the structure, retested it as support right around this candle, and that's exactly where I went long. And I told you all about this basically as soon as it happened. So I just entered, a long trade right around, I think like $6.98 or $7 almost. And right after that, it looks like, prices have moved up a decent amount, as you could see. Now, the reason I wanted to pick up Rune again is in my opinion, Rune has been probably one of the stronger runners aside from, say, Luna or Alpha from time to time. FTT is always up there, but you can see once again today, Rune is at the top of our DeFi list, right? So it's really not a coincidence that it's at the top of the DeFi list. It just seems like whenever sharp sell-offs happen, Rune seems to be running back up really fast. Now, if y'all remember, I told y'all another nifty way to look at the market from the perspective of Rune versus BTC, right? Because if you're going to compete against Bitcoin, the king, right, you want to make sure that locally you're outperforming it. So for example, from this point onward, this movement up is basically the definition of Rune outperforming BTC. That's really how you have to look at it. From this point on the way down, this is an underperformance of Rune, if not a selling of Rune versus an appreciation of BTC. So again, very simple. When charts are going up like this, typically, and let's just say the USD pair is also doing well, that means that Rune is gaining a higher percentage against BTC on the way up, if BTC is going up. This, however, is a very simple formula. Typically, whenever you see a chart like this going down versus BTC, more than likely it is the asset itself is underperforming BTC, or BTC might be going up and this asset might be going down. So thus far, we've been going down, but it just so happens to be that we caught this local low and now we're trying to push our way out. Hopefully, this area right here on the Rune US or Rune BTC pair, hopefully we start pressing up from here further and further, which would mean a further outperformance of Rune against BTC. All right. So far, so good, right? What we really want to pay attention to, what I'm paying attention to though, however, is Rune, the USD pair. Okay. And I want to make sure that the USD pair definitely appreciates value as BTC goes up, or whether BTC goes down. I don't want Rune to lose too much value. All right. So the trade that we took last night, it was really early last night or late last night, around 4 a.m. my time. So I got into the trade, as you can see, 698 was my open price. And I got in as soon as the market was breaking up. Hopefully some of y'all were awake. If you caught that, you did. But again, I'm not here to tell y'all financial advice. Just telling you what exactly I did. And so far, so good. On the 5K account front, luckily we've covered some of the losses that we had in the spot area, because remember, I had bought spot at 759, right? And I was down almost 15% on my spot position. Now I'm only down, where is this? About 2.7% on the spot position. Okay. So I'm looking forward to Rune really playing out, because my original intention for Rune was, it was kind of something like this. Okay. I was hoping that from here, it would break up further towards $8.70. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because as per our indicator, and I've been using this indicator quite a bit, especially to catch some of these DeFi pairs right into support and into resistance. So as per that formula, I was looking for this area of this pink line to hold, which is actually the reason why I went spot and long right there. And it did hold, but then the next candle just sold off. So I was trapped in this for 2 days, but now finally, hopefully this green candle recovers up, climb back above this pink, and then we hit this marker right here, which is $8.70. Okay, that would be a fantastic trade for a spot position and for the Rune long. Now BTC right now, I think you could probably make the argument that BTC is probably going to head up further. The long side is probably something as simple as this, right? Stop just below the weekly open, because obviously we came down, retested the weekly open as support. Now we're pushing back up, and you can aim for say a big even number like 50,000 right here, right? Which is a 9.4% gain versus about a 4.6% stop. Okay. Daily looks fantastic because, once again, this descending trend line that we had made, we broke outside of that and retested it as support, and now we're pushing off of it. Okay. So just remember that, one way we are exercising our long bias in BTC is also being, say, long ETH sometimes or Rune sometimes, because my thought process and my thesis is that I don't think we're in a market right now where if BTC goes up, like DeFi has to go down in USD value. Because if y'all remember back in this area right here, this consolidation or this breakup that we actually had a lot of DeFi follow this on the way up. Like if I do a comparison, let's just do DeFi perp, right? See that? That's the comparison, from back here, see, from this point onward, as it broke up, DeFi also broke up. So this DeFi perp is, by the way, it's basically like a, an ETF that contains Solana and SRM and, all these different DeFi assets. So point is, I don't expect, this time around, as you can see, even right now, see how properly DeFi is correlated with BTC? That's exactly what I expect. Okay. So I'm hoping that more and more DeFi pairs break out and push higher as BTC goes up. Okay. Here's, by the way, I just want to do this real quick because we are hitting our target level right here. I don't have my target profit set for 759. I had just mentioned this yesterday. See, as you can see, I mentioned this in the 5K count. It's not set, but in this area, if you feel like taking profit, you very well could. Okay, just something to keep an eye on. All right, but it's a pretty fantastic move so far. If you got in, made some money, kudos. All right. What other questions do y'all have? Okay, if not, I will move on to our indicator analysis because Harry has posted some fantastic charts. ZRX was one of them, right? ZRX he posted about on August 3rd. I also mentioned it on the same day, mentioning this chart and the indicator, right? We were given some very, very promising movement from the ZRX side on the indicator, as well as the diagonals that it had broken out of. And I think it was somewhere around this area, if I'm not mistaken, that ZRX had been pushing out of. And as you can see, from this point on, which is when I did that video too, right? It's up a good 22, 23%. It's a pretty solid move. At the highs, it was up almost to about 35%. Okay. He mentioned ICP this morning too, which is quite fantastic. So here's, let's see what chart that is. That's a 4 hour, right? So let's go to a 4 hour ICP, USDT, 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, this is what you saw on ICP. You saw a swing bull signal. The retest of this area right here, as you can see, right? This is how you basically get an opportunity to go long after you get this swing bull signal. When price comes back into key support areas like the bottom of this cloud, as Harry had shown in the indicator analysis. If you didn't want to get in, say at the bottom right here, you could have gotten out at the high of this being broken, which is like right here. Even from that point, say you got in right there, you're still up about 35, 36%. From the point of basically getting in at the bottom of this cloud right here, say from here onward, you're up about 70%. So again, if you don't have this indicator, please check it out because it has given you some phenomenal movements in the market, almost to the T where you realize, how amazing it is to have this indicator as part of your arsenal. I use it almost every single day because I like to look at my own technicals first, what the overall market structure is, and then I go back to what the indicator is showing me. And sometimes I either get a better entry, or I sometimes get, better assessment of target profits or stops, right? All these things, it's more so of a precision and a confluence that I use the indicator for. And to be honest, it works really, really well. Okay. And contact me if you are interested in the lifetime access to the indicator. We have a special deal going forward. Okay. All right. Other than that, what else do we got? Told you all about gold selling off. Shorts are picking back up a little bit today. It's interesting. The other thing is, what I did not like yesterday was that the infrastructure bill, which had the crypto stuff in it, okay, the crypto regulation, that one, it's not actually completely positive, okay? And so I find it unique that the market is moving up from it, because what I would like to do on days like today is, if I don't see, let's just say, big outsized movement where the market is completely ignoring it for, say, a day or two, then I like to start winding down my positions, because at some point, this kind of news, or, this kind of news here, you can check it out on my Twitter feed, is going to impact the market in some way. Okay. So before that happens, right, you want to hopefully get out in the pump or start reducing your position in the pump. I don't really know which way it's going to go. I want to be a believer and say that hopefully our politicians are not, too shady and they don't try to screw crypto. But honestly, the fact that we're on the political radar now, it's not necessarily always a good thing. And, don't pin your hopes on politicians trying to save crypto or decentralizing, because remember, we're basically in direct sort of fight, or we're an adversary to the current financial system, whether it's the banks, whether it's how the current system operates. All these things are what crypto in essence is trying to build, and that doesn't really go well for the status quo. So just expect the fight, expect the market to be choppy, expect things to not go so well. Okay. All right. Harry is saying Algo 4-hour has a similar setup as ICP had. Let's check that out. Algo 4-hour. Oh yeah. Okay. So this is really interesting. So before ICP took off, right? Here's Algo doing basically the same thing. That's exactly what he's mentioning. So now you can basically get in here, which is where the price is. You can have your stops below these lows right here. Okay. And your first target profit is probably this red line. You can also use the daily as a potential area to mark out TP level. So for example, $1 right here is probably the target profit level, or this one right here, which is around $1.03. Okay. That's how you can also gauge target profit level. You can just look at the daily or a higher time frame and figure out, well, which one is showing you potential resistance on the way up. And that's really your best bet. Okay. All right. What is the play for FTT? I'm going to answer this question and then wrap it up. All right. Wow. FTT looks fantastic. Huge bullish candle on FTT. It's up almost 9% on the day. So fantastic movement. Looks like basically it's following BTC so far. It's done really well, right? I mean, there's really no argument against FTT right now, because as part of the package of centralized exchanges, FTT is probably one of the best ones against, say, something like KuCoin or Binance. In my opinion, again, it's the best one. And then on top of that, they just had a seed round. No, it wasn't a seed round. I think it was like some series raise for FTX, the exchange, which in my opinion, in some way is going to be factored into the FTT price, right? Let me see. FTX raises money. I'm pretty sure they raised some money like last month. Yeah, so they've closed 900 million Series B raise, right? So again, they're valuing the business at 18 billion at this particular round. So that means that if we go to CoinGecko and find out what the MCAP is of FTT, okay, FTT currently sits at a 5 billion market cap. That means it's like, here's a way to look from the VC world into, say, the post public world, right? If you know that the current market cap is $5 billion, okay, and say big investors are valuing FTX as an exchange, which could mean, FTT as a token, even though technically you can't make that correlation that FTX is directly related to the FTT token. But we know for the most part, being in crypto, that FTT as a token, the exchange tokens do really well when the exchange itself does well. So the point is that if they raise money on the hopes that it's going to be an $18 billion valuation for the exchange, and currently the market cap of FTX is $5 billion, right? Or FTT, the token, okay? That means that there's about a 3x gap, almost a 3.5x gap between market cap and valuation. So a unique way to look at the market is, well, then you say, okay, well, what's a 3x, from here? It's basically about $150, right? So that means you have another 22% move based on what very smart, VCs raised for FTX. Pretty unique way to look at it, right? Sometimes you can't really, once again, it's not as simple as that, because you can make the argument that, well, FTX as a whole exchange has nothing to do with the FTT token, which is true. But for the most part, again, we know that FTT, the token, benefits when the FTX exchange does well. And they can't obviously qualify or rather classify it as a security, because if they do, then basically no one is really allowed to invest in the FTT token unless you're an accredited investor, or you go through special processes to want to buy this token, right? So this is why they say that, hey, this token does not mean that you have equity in the FTX exchange. But this valuation, the people who bought into this valuation, they do get an equity in the FTX exchange. And they may probably also get some FTT tokens. But what we as investors or traders in the crypto space, we get FTT, the token, but we don't have crap to, say about FTX equity, right? We don't get equity in FTX because we own the FTT token. All right, so you have to kind of delineate those two things. Okay, other than that, that's all I got. Final thing, right? ETH looking good. Looks like it retested 3,000 once again, came back down to about 2880. If y'all remember, I had pointed out this pivot right here, literally before we started dropping, all the T and now taking off again. So if you want to get into FTX, not FTX, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on FTX. If you want to get into ETH, there's your stop just below that low. And you can aim for these highs right here around $3,500, $3,500 to $3,550. Okay, that's the most obvious area, I would say, is a big even number. Maybe you could say right there, 3,400 is another big target to pay attention to. Okay. All right, folks, I got to get going. I need to pay attention to what the equity markets is doing. Let me check that real quick, right? ES really just grinding and grinding higher. I feel like right now, nothing's stopping the stock markets because it just seems like, people are once again going to be tied into the idea that even if we have COVID play out once again with the Delta variant, the government's going to print money. They're going to put another backstop in the equity markets in some way, or they're going to keep printing money. So I feel like the market is fearless. Sometimes that scares me. I don't know. I'm still very careful in the market not to just blindly assume that at record high valuations that we have to just keep going higher. I still always retain a cash position to some degree. And whenever I see sharp drops, I like to buy back in. Okay. All right, that's it. Y'all take care. Catch up with you soon. Cheers.